Good evening and welcome to Bible study. I'm Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Goodine, pastor of Church on Wheels Spoken Word out of Deltona, Florida, and we'd like to welcome you to another edition of our Bible study, which is our study on the book of Psalms. Thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And thank you all once again. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. Send me an email at pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. It's pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. And I'll add you to the list and you will get a copy of the handout so that you could follow along with us, so you could tune in, invite a friend, have a watch party. So send me an email at pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com. pastorjeffreygoodine@gmail.com, and you will get a copy of the handout. You get added to the list and you will get a copy of the handout every week that we have Bible study. Like us on YouTube at Pastor Jeffrey Goodine. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified anytime we come on. Like us on Facebook. Follow us at Church on Wheels, Let the Good News Roll. Facebook Live, Jeffrey Goodine. Twitter, which is now X, at Goodine Jeffrey. Instagram, Goodine Jeffrey. And Clubhouse, Church on Wheels Ministry. Thank you all for tuning in. Tonight we're going to continue our Bible study on the book of Psalms. And tonight is Psalm 121. Psalm 121. Why does this always do this? Psalm 121. And this is a very familiar text. And it's one that I don't know what's wrong with this thing. Psalm 121. Now, this is a psalm. Now, this psalm is attributed to David. Some say that it can be attributed to David, but it may not be written by him. What it's saying is this is a song of degrees. Now, what this says is that this psalm was sung while they were in transit or while you are moving. They said that this psalm is a sequence or a cadence that they would use when the people were traveling to Jerusalem. Now, they say that they were singing this in their travels. And in their traveling from wherever they are to go into Jerusalem, is that this song or this psalm would be sung. Well, when you look at it, if they're getting weary and things of that nature, it is a song of degrees which is help from the Lord. Now, and we know that in their travel, some people travel long distances to get to Jerusalem. And this is why, this is one of the reasons that Jesus went into the temple, is because people were traveling long distances to get there for the festival. But when they got there, the people were telling them their money was no good, that the animals that they brought were no good, and then because if they traveled and didn't know there was a sacrifice, so then they would have to buy the animals while they were there, and then they were selling them sick animals and lame animals and all of this stuff. And so that's why when Jesus went in there, he turned over the thing. He said, you know, you made the temple a den of thieves. People traveling long distances to get there. So here, this song, when they're talking about degrees, you know, they're talking about next step, or this is a cadence that or something that they used when they were traveling. And we know back then, well, I don't know, I wasn't there, but it probably didn't have any cars. Everybody walked where they went. And so some of these walks were long walks. And so it was a cadence that they used to stay in steps. What's the next step? You know, the next step. And so that's what this psalm is. Now, when you look at the psalm, and in verses 1 and 2 is what we're going to focus on tonight, you will see what it's saying. And then from the King James Version, it says, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. So think about it. These long travels and you get weary, strength to continue. You can see that this is something that they're singing. That to get them, you know, when they get tired, you know, they say, I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, because again, back to this hilly territory. But then we know that, you know, when we look to the hills, we know that God is on top of the hill. And so, in that metaphor, that I look unto the hills, which means that I'm looking up. And I'm looking up toward the heavens. And by looking up toward the heavens, I know that that's where my help comes from. And so, lift up mine eyes unto the hills is sort of a metaphor for looking upward, because we know the hills are up. So if we're looking upward, we know that my help is coming from off the top of the hill. So my help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. So, and again, this text, and it's attributed to David. And when, again, we can see where David can write this, we can see that, because, again, he was a man after God's own heart. So when you read this, you can see that. But in not taken away from that, but this is used when they're traveling. That when they get weary, they get tired, that I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. Now my help is saying coming from the hills or the sky, looking upward. And it comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. So the Lord can help, or help from the Lord. He will help us in our times of trouble. He will help us with our travels. He will help us when we get weary and tired and we feel we can't go on anymore. That's when we call on our help. And so here we see this song, help from the Lord. Now when we look at and finish reading this, and I'm reading from the King James Version, verse 3 says, He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. God does not get tired taking care of us. Now I want you to also understand that the evil one don't slumber either. Now don't think that he's sleeping either. God is not sleeping. He will not slumber. He will not move his foot. That he will always be there. Now, Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. He is the same God. Now, if he don't sleep and slumber with them, then he's surely not going to sleep and slumber with me. And he's definitely not going to sleep or slumber with you. He doesn't. He's there all the time. So we can call on him. We can seek help from him at all times. It doesn't matter what time it is. It doesn't matter what time it is. When we're seeking help from him. It could be, 12 in the midnight hour or 12 noon. Anytime in between. You call on him. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from on top of the hill. And that's the metaphor for looking up towards heaven. That's where our help comes from. Our help comes in that form. He goes on saying, verse 5, the Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. So he's covering us. He is thy keeper. Now we've heard the saying, am I my brother's keeper? Those words were strong words back in Genesis. Am I my brother's keeper? And we know that between Cain and Abel, we should know that he said when God asked him, where's your brother? You're usually together. And his response was, am I my brother's keeper? Well, the Lord is thy keeper. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's our keeper. And the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. Now, when he's saying this, the shade upon thy right hand, that he's got us covered. He's got us covered. So in verse 6, the sun will not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. He's got us covered, as we would say, 24/7, 365, 366 on leap year. He's got us covered. The sun won't be able to bother us, and the moon won't be able to bother us. However the moon affects us, however the sun affects us, in essence, we're using this as a metaphor that we are being protected day and night. We are protected. He said, the Lord, verse 7, the Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Now, that is important there in that he preserved the soul, not our bodies. There's a big difference between our souls and our bodies. When we die, our body's going to go back to dust or dirt, however you want to look at it. But it's the soul that he's going to preserve. The soul on the spiritual level that we communicate with him. So he's going to protect our soul. He's going to preserve our soul. Which is what we want. Because these bodies are going to decay. These bodies are going to decay. But it's the soul that he's going to preserve. The soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going in. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Now here he's saying that the Lord can protect us coming and going. Coming and going. Now think about it. This psalmist is saying that the Lord is going to protect us. That when I call for help, when I look for his help, I know that he's going to help me. I know that he's not going to sleep nor slumber. He's going to protect me. I'm going to be covered. I'm going to be covered day and night. And he's going to protect my soul. Now, protecting our soul from evil. Now, he didn't say that evil wasn't coming. He didn't say that evil wasn't going to happen. He didn't say that. What he says is he's going to protect us from evil, even though it's happening. And then the 23rd Psalm says, prepare food for me in the midst of my enemies. So we can sit in the presence of in our enemy, in the presence of our enemy, that we will be protected. And here the psalmist is saying that that we will be preserved from all evil. Not that evil he's going to stop evil, but he's going to protect us from evil. And he's going to protect us. He's going to protect our soul. Now he also said that he's going to protect us, to protect our going out and our coming in. Okay? We either going to be going somewhere or we coming from somewhere. So we're protected there. We're protected day and night. So we are all protected. And our soul is going to be preserved. And just like he kept the children of Israel, the same way he's going to protect us today. He neither sleeps nor slumbers. But now I want you to also understand that the evil one does not sleep nor slumber. So we need help. And the psalmist says that I will lift up mine eyes into the hill, which means that I'm going to look to the hills for my help. I'm going to look toward the heavens for my help. For my help. That's where it's coming from. It's surely not coming from down here. Because if it was coming from down here, then, I probably wouldn't be tired. Because I'm already down here. But there's a certain kind of help that's coming from the Lord. There's a certain kind of help. It's a help that nobody understands. It's a help that nobody understands. But you know you got it. You can't explain this help. All you know is that you looked in this particular direction for your help. That meant when you looked that place for your help, you expected help. But the only way that you can expect something from God is you've got to believe in him. You've got to believe he exists. So if you believe he exists, and the psalmist says, I'll lift up mine eyes unto the hills, he's looking in a particular direction. That's where his help is coming from this particular direction. And we use that to say that my help comes from the Lord. So if I'm looking toward the hills and I know that my help is coming from that direction, then when I say that my help coming from the Lord, then the Lord must be in that direction that I'm looking. So if I'm looking in that direction toward the Lord, then I am anticipating I'm going to get the help that I need. I'm going to get the help that I need to keep moving. That I know that when I get weary, he's not weary. When I get tired, he's not tired. When I get sleepy, he's not sleeping. So I can call anytime. But if we looking in that direction, regardless of where the hills are, the hills could be over here, the hills could be over here, the hills could be back there, hills could be over there. However you look, but you know when you look that way that you're anticipating the help. In fact, you already know that that help is coming from that direction. No other direction can help me but that direction. Why? It's because I said that my help coming from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. So now we've given the Lord his due. He made heaven and earth. So we know he made heaven and earth. So we know that if I call on the one that made heaven and earth, and I know that when I look in this direction, that I know that there's help there. And that help is the Lord. And that's the person that made heaven and earth. I can't do nothing but anticipate help. I'm not just looking there to be looking. I'm looking there because I know that's where my help comes from. So when you use the metaphor, I lift up my eyes into the hills. The hills or the mountains, or however you want to look at it, that is heavenward, and I know that that's where my help comes from, because I've concluded that in the heavens, that the Lord resides in the heavens, and that's where I get my strength. That's where I get my help. So I call on it. So in my times of trouble, in my times of weariness, he says, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help comes from the hills. My help comes from heaven. My help comes from the Lord. So that means that that's putting the Lord in his place. That's putting your eyes in your place. It's also putting your belief in the proper perspective. That you believe that the Lord is there. You believe that your help comes from there. And so, if you believe that your help comes from there, then why not look that way and expect help? Now, if you notice, the psalmist says, in essence, whenever I need help, I'm going to look unto the hills. Whenever I need help. Because from whence cometh my help? My help comes from the hills. And that's our metaphor for looking up. That's where my help comes from. But then I also know that who is providing that help, and that is the Lord. Because it say my help coming from the Lord. So that means the Lord, it's got to be upon the hills. And my eyes are upon him. And my eyes are upon him knowing that I will get help. And I will get help from him. Why? It's because he made the heavens and the earth. There's nothing too big for him. So, if you think of the psalmist here, and again, they attributed this to David, but when you read this, and then when you also do your research, you will notice that this is a song that they were singing on their way to Jerusalem. And so David could have written it, and then they were singing it on their travels to Jerusalem. You get tired, you get weary, and they're traveling out here, and they know that they need help getting where they're going. And it says that the Lord, I will look unto the hills. I will look to the hills. Because that's where my help comes from. Now, isn't it, when you look at it, the first two verses of this psalm, the first two verses is the foundation for asking for help. the foundation of asking for help is that first we got to seek it. And we got to know where this help comes from. Now, if we say, I'm going to look up to, I'm going to look behind this apple tree and I'm supposed to, my help coming from behind the apple tree, I guess. I don't know. I don't look behind apple trees for help. I look at apple trees for apples. But if you understand that he's saying, that the psalmist is saying, that my help cometh from the Lord, I'm looking in the direction of the Lord. I'm looking in the direction of the Lord. And according to this psalmist, he is in the hills. And he knows that his help comes from the hills. So if you think about it, if I'm looking toward heaven, if I'm out in, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of somewhere, and I look and I see mountains and hills, and I'm looking up, and more I look up, I see hills and stuff, then that's metaphor, and is that I'm looking toward the heavens, and I see the hills. And I know that he's up there. So I'm expecting help. But I call on help when I'm looking toward the hills. I call and I ask for help. Not down on the ground, but up in the heavens. And it just so happened that in my line of sight, that I see hills. So I can put the two together. I'm going to look toward the hills. From the hills come my help. From this direction, that comes my help. And my help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. So I know that when I look in that direction and I ask for help, that my help is going to come from that direction. Oh boy. That help, my help is going to come from that direction. And my help coming from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. So again, when we need help. Now, I know in some parts of this country, in the Midwest, there are no hills. There's some places it's just flat land. Okay? But when you look off into the horizon, the same metaphor that you're looking toward heaven, and you say, when I look this direction, that's where my help's coming from. My help is coming from that direction. I know my help is coming from that direction. That's why I'm looking in that direction. And if I'm looking in that direction, I'm expecting help from that direction. And that's what the psalmist is saying. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. He didn't say the help was coming from fellow man, not to say that your fellow man can't assist you in some things, but there's some things that man just cannot do. There's some things that man just cannot do. You need help from the Lord. There's some things that man just cannot do. So when we get to that point, if you notice here in the traveling, saying I'm tired and weary, I need help to go on. So my help comes from that direction. My help comes from that direction. In that direction, I see hills. But I know that that's where my help comes from. So if my help comes from there, and I know that my help comes from the Lord, so then I must be looking at the Lord, asking for help. But I would only ask him for help is because he made heaven and earth. He's the ultimate helper. So do you see what the psalmist is saying? In your travels, you need help? Call on the Lord. But you must call on him from the direction of where he is. And the metaphor here is that he is up on the hills. He's on the top of the hills. So if you look toward the hills in that direction, you expecting your help, you will see him. And when you look in that direction, you're anticipating help. You're calling from help in that direction. Not there, not there, not back there. You're looking toward the hills. Because you say, that's where my help comes from. And my help comes from the hill, but I know that my help comes from the Lord. So he must be up there. That's why I'm looking in that direction. And then the psalmist goes on to say, you know, that he will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. I can call on him at any time. You can call on him at any time. He's not asleep. He's not asleep. He's not asleep. We're the ones that sleep. We're the ones that sleep. And what I say about sleeping is that you let things slide, you let things go by, you lose things. And say when you sleep and you slept that one, you know the little phrase we use say, you know, I slept that one, which means I missed it. Well, not with God. No, he don't miss it. He ain't missing. He knows everything you do, everything you say. He didn't miss nothing. He didn't miss nothing. You're the one that missed. Because when you slept, you missed. And if you don't believe it, you've gone to bed and waking up, and the first thing you say, it rained last night? I must have been asleep. Yes, you were. You didn't even know it rained. Such and such happened. You didn't know it. Because you slept and slumbered. But let me tell you something. God neither sleeps nor slumbers. And he said that, and behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither sleep, slumber nor sleep, just like he kept the children of Israel in the desert 40 years. Shoes didn't wear out, clothes didn't wear out, they had food to eat every day. Not once did he miss. He covered them with a cloud during the day and a pillar of fire at night so they could travel. He didn't sleep nor slumber. No, he does not. The psalmist says, the Lord is thy keeper. Yes, he is our keeper. Yes, he is. Now you might say, am I my brother's keeper? I don't know. All depends on how you feel about it. Do you feel that you are your brother's keeper? That's something that you have to decide. But I can tell you this. The Lord is your keeper, and he's always there. And he's there to protect us. And using the sun and the moon by night, you know, protection. We ask for help. He's going to help us in the middle of the day. And he's going to help us in the middle of the night. It doesn't matter when we call. And I can tell you this. Just because the sun is shining outside That don't mean that everybody's bright. That could be the darkest time of someone's life. It could be the darkest time. Just because the sun is out, that don't mean that their lives are bright. Their lives could be dark. So there's protection. There's protection by the moon at night from protection. So when we call on him, he's protecting our souls. He's protecting our soul. Not our bodies, our soul. Something that man cannot kill. He can kill the body, but he can't kill the soul. But the one that provides help can kill the body and the soul. That's who you need to fear. The body, he can kill the body and the soul. And he protects the soul. And then the psalmist says that, you know what? He covers me when I'm going in, when I'm going out, and when I'm coming in. Day and night. And in all my travels, when I'm going out and when I'm coming in, day and night, he's protecting me. So, he's protecting me. So the question tonight is, how does the Lord help those on the journey of faith? Now, our faith journey, we're going to need help. We need help on our faith journey. We need help. It's not easy. You build up to it. You get stronger in your faith as time goes on. At the beginning, you're as you said, you're bathed with milk, you know. You're not eating meat yet. It's just a matter of time that when them kids start eating meat, yeah, buddy, you'd rather buy them clothes than feed them. Trust me. But now, the faith is getting stronger. The faith is getting stronger. And along that journey, with our help, that when we look to him, see, for the psalmist to say that I'm going to look toward the hills, whence cometh my help coming from the Lord, that's faith. That comes from experience. That comes from faith experience. That comes from knowing that when I seek help from the Lord and I know exactly where he is and I call on him and I know he's going to help me. I know he's going to help me. I know that. Now, number 2, what form does God's protection take? Now, what form does God's protection take? Now, we see here that he will not suffer thy foot to be moved, which is now he's going to protect us. He says that he will not sleep nor slumber. That he protect us in the day and at night. So the sun won't smite us and the moon won't harm us. That he will preserve us from evil. And he's going to preserve our going out and our coming in. And he said from this time forth, even forevermore. So forever. So what form does God's protection take with you? Do you look toward the hills for your help? Do you, and when you call on him, do you believe that you will be helped? Do you believe that you'll be helped? There's a big difference here. This psalmist says, I will look to the hills, cometh my help. My help. I know it's coming from there, without a shadow of a doubt. I know it's coming from there. So I'm looking at that and I'm anticipating, I'm expecting help. Now, God's protection comes in a lot of ways. When we ask for help, our protection comes in a lot of ways. My protection help and your protection help are could take on two different forms, but they all are the same thing. It is because of our faith that we call for this help. And it is our faith that keeps us looking toward that way. Our faith has gotten stronger. And we know that whenever I need help, I can call on, I can look in this direction and I can call on him. Why do I look in that direction? Because that's where the Lord is. That's where he is. And I know that he is not sleeping nor slumbering. He's attentive to me. He's attentive. Now, and the last question, what does this psalm reveal about God's character and God's ways? Now, we can kind of summarize his character. He's a loving, merciful, slow to anger, and his ways are not our ways. Our ways, in essence, if I could say this, our way is usually the wrong way. We think it's the right way. But until God intervenes, it's probably the wrong way. Until he opens our eyes and let us see. It's probably the wrong way. But more than likely, I'll say it's the wrong way until he steps in. And sometimes when we start planning stuff and doing things, whatever, there comes a point where he steps in. Because we get weary. We get tired. We lose focus. And we have to be brought back. We need help with this. We've gotten to the point and now we are at a stalemate. We just can't go any further. We know we need to go further, but we don't know which way to go. We don't know what to do. So we call on him. And we call on him in a certain direction when nobody knows. That's our communication. That's our communication. That's how I talk to him, from this direction. And in my talking to him, I know he's going to help me. I ask for it, and I know I have faith to know that he's going to help me. No matter what time of day or night that I call. Because I'm going to look in this direction, and I know in that direction he's there. And I'm going to call and ask him for help. Because I know that's where my help comes from. And my help is exactly what I need at that time. And he said that when I call on you, that I will not sleep nor slumber, that I hear you, I will preserve your soul, I will preserve your going out and your coming in from this time forth and evermore. That's why we call on him. So do you see what the psalmist says? And you got to understand the psalmist. The psalmist says that I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. Now let's take a look. Whence cometh my help? My help comes from the hills. Well, the hills are up there. We're looking, whenever we're looking at a hill, we're looking heaven bound. And we know that he's up there. and we look in that direction. Now, wherever the hill is in your life, I don't know. But I can tell you this, that you know exactly where to look and the direction to look. Because you know that's where your help comes from. And you know why your help comes from there. Because the Lord is there. And you know who He is. He made heaven and earth. So that's the only person that can help you. It's the only entity that can help you with your situation. And you call on it. But you must have the faith to call and believe that you will get your help. Now, if you call, and you go, yeah, God, I know, but, calling and wavering, James said, let not that man think he shall receive anything from God. How you going to, think about this for a minute. How are you going to ask for help and don't think you're going to get it? That don't make no sense. You ask God for help, but yet you don't believe you're going to get it. Well, what's the sense of asking? Now, you might ask the pastor for help, and I just can't do it. Not that I can't. It's just that I don't have the wherewithal to do it. So I guess I can't help with everything. But you asking me for help with more faith than it was if you was asking God for help. What kind of sense that is? That don't make no sense. You put more faith in asking the pastor for help than asking the Lord for help?